welcome to the southern Oregon coast. We are in Bandon, Oregon. Not raining at the moment. Got the rain gear on though and ready.
It's actually pretty warm.
Actually not bad, yeah. But the winds are picking up. It's one of the cool things about this beach and anywhere along the Oregon coast, really. You can find it from further south up to the northern parts. We got a lot of rock formations in the sea. And so it makes for a lot of different photos that you can take. So you have a lot of different compositions. Problem is it's almost too much. You got to try to get here a little early. You need to understand the tides, know when they're low and high, and then also where you can set up to get a good shot. But as you can see here, you got a lot of options for different compositions. Again, so many cool formations here. It really doesn't matter which one you get, you're still going to end up with a decent shot. So definitely a cool place to come if you're looking to do some photography on the Oregon coast. So we're about, what time we got?
Probably right about 5.
Right about 5. Sunset was at
5:15.
about 5:15, and so now we're just getting ready to leave because the weather is just not cooperating. But stuff's starting to calm down a little bit, and the sky is starting to get some color. You see some of that pink and the blue in there, so that's kind of cool. We may end up getting a shot of this after all. So after a rough day of photography on the crazy Oregon coast, we are now heading to Bandon Brewery because we need beer. We need beer. Hey, good morning everybody. So we are, second day, we are on our way to the Samuel H. Boardman Scenic Corridor. Anyway, hoping to get down there early for sunrise and then have a chance to explore that area. Haven't really ever got a chance to get down there and see any of what that's all about. So looking forward to getting down there and showing you around. All right, so we are here at the Samuel H. Boardman Natural Bridge. This is one of the spots that everybody comes to photograph here. It's pretty cool. So they actually have a natural walkway across this rock cropping here out in the middle of the ocean. But as you can see, sometimes Mother Nature doesn't cooperate with you as a landscape photographer, and that's unfortunately just part of it. But as you can see, quite a bit of fog layer. Tried to get here for sunrise and hope to get the best sky, and now we've got this to contend with. So we'll just have to go for a quick hike, see if we can get around it, and hopefully it'll clear up soon so that we can still have some decent sky. Yeah, we'll go from there. All right, so it looks like we got up early this morning really for nothing, because unfortunately the fog bank is thick and you basically can't see anything at this point. Unfortunately, that's just part of it. So you never know what you're gonna get, and it's there's no real way to actually predict what the fog is gonna do. So we took a somewhat strenuous hike, and now we're walking the highway back to the car. So hopefully we don't get run over by some crazy drivers, but we're only about a couple hundred yards from the truck now, so easier than taking the trail back down. It was pretty muddy, had to climb some logs. Looked like it'd be a pretty cool view if you could get to it, but unfortunately we're just gonna have to wait until later in the day. We'll just head down, see if we can find some other areas, maybe do a hike, and then come back later, see if the fog bank disappears. Finally starting to clear up a little bit. We're here at Harris Beach, and they got this little rock formation you can climb up. It's pretty cool. They had a little seagull up top, so I pulled out the 200 to 500 lens and got a couple cool shots of that seagull just sitting up on the rock. And so now hopefully as we go back through the park here, hopefully some of this cloud layer is going to start to clear and we can start to get some good landscape photos hopefully before we lose all the good light. Back at the first spot 10 hours later.
Yeah.
The marine layer has not cleared completely, that is for sure. It is still kind of clouded in. We've got about 1 hour before sunset, and we just went over to the arch turnout for, what was that, Arch Rock, and a couple decent photos, but just no color. It's going to be, I'd probably make a pretty good black and white, I guess. All right, so we were going to try to find that natural bridge, and I'll show you when I take a photo of it, and I'm sure you may have seen it before. It's a natural bridge you can get down to and you can walk across it. The problem is you fall in it, you're dead. It's plain and simple. You're not getting away from it. I mean, it's crazy. And so Kim and I got to the top where you start to descend, and it was not worth our lives. So we decided to take a different route that some locals told us about, where it kind of just takes us to a point, and then we'll just kind of scout the area and see what's what, because yeah, it gets pretty treacherous up here, so you got to be very careful, and like I said, no shot's worth dying for. So the locals are saying in the winter time it's just not worth risking. It washes out, really slippery, and we saw basically if you slip and fall, you're dead. I mean, there's just no getting around it. So why people chance that, I have no idea, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, well, we can go back to it and show the video of it.
Yeah, here, let me show you what it looks like. Basically what it looks like. So why people are doing it, I have no idea. Okay, so even that, just coming down to this point, was pretty hairy. I've seen people do it at night when they come out for some astrophotography to try to get this island. I'll show you on video, and I just don't know how they do it at night, but pretty freaky for the shot, I guess, if it's worth it. But this is a pretty cool spot. I'll show you here. I don't know if you can see that little island out there, not with this wide angle, but anyway, so this is what we're dealing with here. So I figure I'm here, might as well get a couple shots of this island out here. There's no way they're going to come out very well. Like I said, I might try black and white. Color-wise, there's just no color out today with all this marine layer in here, so I'm just hoping work on composition, work on some scouting, get an idea of what's here, so next time I want to come back. It would be really cool to come out here for some astrophotography one night and be able to get these islands lit up. It's pretty neat. I've seen that done a few different times with the Milky Way and stuff. So, but on a clear day, this would be beautiful if we could get some decent clouds without all this haze. Is right there.
It's scary. You don't know if it's eroded underneath you or not.
Oh man.
Oh, okay, stop, babe.
Okay, there's a tunnel. Wow. That's magnificent. That's awesome.
That's like it's not even real.
I mean, if that was if it was a better day, I mean, it's still cool as could be, but man, if we just had some better light, that would have made for an epic photo. So at least it wasn't a ruined trip, because now we get to see what's here, and then plan coming back next time. For us, it's only about a 6-hour drive. What is it?
Clown.
You gonna get it for me? Oh man, don't die.
This is why he brings me along. I remind him of things.
Okay, tip number, I don't even know, I didn't have any tips on this one, but if I didn't have my wife, I'd probably lose everything. I've lost golf clubs, now I would have lost my cap to my lens. Thanks, babe. All right, so unfortunately it doesn't look like we're gonna have great color tonight for the final shot. But we'll see. Still got a couple more minutes till sunset, and then we'll see if that cloud of the sky colors up at all. We didn't think we were going to get anything last night either, and it turned kind of a cool pinkish blue. So we'll see what happens. Got my composition all set up. Basically here, it's kind of tough if you don't have a pretty high tripod, because they've got this decking here. As you can see, I got the tripod set up pretty high, and I'm just barely not getting that in my frame. So right now we're going to try to set it up so that I can get a lot of stuff in focus if I can try to get the whole scene in focus. I'm going to try to focus on the stack there that's got all the waves and stuff crushing into it, and then might lower that ISO, try to get that down to 100, and then if I have to, I'll throw on a ND filter and then try to smooth out some of that water. So got some options, just going to try to get things set up here and hopefully get a decent couple shots. So the one thing I'll mention real quick about this Nikon Z6, I haven't done a review on it yet. Again, I'm just still trying to shoot it, get used to it before I do my review, but my initial impression is I really love it, with the fact that it's mirrorless, because all my information is right on the screen in live view, so I can see my histogram, I can see my exposure, I can make all my changes so that I know what I see on the screen is what I'm going to get on the shot. So as you see here, if you're looking at I can make my adjustments, and then I can see my histogram and my exposure, and then that just makes it really easy to take shots. In fact, if you're a newer photographer, I'd highly recommend you look at getting a mirrorless camera, because it's just going to be so much easier for you to shoot. I'm not having to worry about all that data on the back end. Now I can see it live, know what I'm going to get, and then when I get it back to home in Lightroom, I don't have to do as much adjustment to the exposure. So I was able to get my ISO down to 100. Right now I'm underexposing this shot a little bit, a couple stops, just because that sky is so blown out. I want to try to save some detail in the sky, which little there is, and so I don't want to overexpose this shot. I know I can fix it later. So right now I'm at f14 with a 3-second exposure. That way I can try to smooth out some of that water. That's what I've seen a lot of these photos. I'm kind of hoping with that long exposure to bring out some light. ISO 100, and so once this couple more minutes here, we're going to be pretty dark, so we're not going to have much else to do. So I'll show you what shots we end up with. I'm sure they're not going to be fantastic, but that's kind of the fun part. Did a lot of scouting though anyway, and got a chance to see what's out here, so we'll definitely be making another trip. And then tomorrow hopefully we'll get a couple more good photos at the beach and then head on home. All right, hello everybody. Last day. Hopefully you might be able to see me, maybe not. It's pretty dark out here. We're now back at Abandoned Beach for the sunrise. Gonna try to get out here and get set up before sunrise, which should be in about half an hour. I'm gonna try to get a pretty long exposure done this morning if possible. Trying to maybe get 30 seconds or longer. Try to really smooth out the ocean. That's the idea. So anyway, we'll get set up. I want to do landscape photography, and if you love it, you got to be willing to get up early and stay late. I know that's kind of the common thing I've talked about, but unfortunately it's the only way. If you're going to get decent light, soft light, you've got to be willing to do that. And while everybody else is sleeping, you know, you're the one out here taking the photos. Chances are you're going to be the one that gets noticed. So it's my advice. Make sure you're getting up early and do what needs to get done to get the good shot. All right, so I got all set up, and at the moment I got exactly what I was hoping for. Just enough light to where I could set it up for a 30-second exposure. F-stop is pretty low. You know, I'm down to like an F20, F18, which I really don't like to do, but without focus stacking, I want to make sure that I get everything sharp. And so as you can see in my foreground here, I've got this cool little rock, and then in the back I've got the sea stacks. And then the idea is, hopefully with the long exposures, that water will come up and crash on this rock, and I'll be able to smooth that out. So we're going to hit this shutter button real quick while this water's coming in. As you can see, that water is just kind of going right around that rock. And so all I'm trying to do now with that long exposure is to get that to smooth out. I'm at ISO 100 at f22 and a 30-second exposure at the moment. I'm going to try to lower that f-stop down to around an f8 at some point would be ideal, but anything up to like an f16 is usually okay. Once you start getting in the 20s, you start introducing diffraction, which, you know, for most of my photos I don't really notice that very often when I do it, but again, I don't use that high of an f-stop very often. So anyway, take a couple more photos and see how they come out. Sun's coming out now. That happened fast. I mean, well, I've only been here about 5 minutes or so, and now I'm already down shutter speed wise to about 10 seconds. So I went from a 30-second exposure now down to 10, just because there's so much light. What I'll do here shortly is I'll probably put on my ND filter so that I can keep some darkness, so I can keep those long exposures going. But one thing that I would say as well is make sure to not always have your tripod just set up as high as you can go. A lot of times you see photographers and they only shoot from one level, and people are kind of, that's how everybody sees photos these days, is from eye level. So sometimes it's nice to get down. Put this here real quick while this water's coming in on me. Sometimes it's nice to get down and get some of those other photos from a different level. As you can see, that's a nice little sneaker wave that they call them. Luckily, I've got a very sturdy tripod, and still not in any danger because I'm just right at the very end. I've got a way to get away if I needed to, as far as exit goes. And I've got my waders on, so I've got the boots that I need as well. So keep that in mind too. Seas can be very dangerous. All right, starting to get a little light now, a little too light for any long exposure, so I'm gonna go ahead and put on my 6-stop ND filter. Yeah, the cool thing about this ND filter is it's got this it's really textured, so it seems like a lot of times I end up buying these filters and then I come out here into the sand or what have you, and then end up easily dropping them, which is really frustrating. It's really, once you scratch those up, they're done. But this filter seems to do pretty good as far as being really easy to grip, so hopefully that won't occur in the future, would be my hope. So by putting that on, I'm able to stay at f8, and then my exposure goes back up to 15 seconds. I was down to as little as 2.5 seconds without the ND filter. So now I've got the ND on there, and so I'm able to get those long exposures again, which is nice. It's the reason why I have it. I also shoot a lot of video, so I really need it. You can get away without having NDs and what have you, but it's nice to at least have 1 or 2 in your bag if you can afford to get the good ones. It's really going to make a difference with your photography, especially when talking landscapes. All right, so as you can see, we're starting to get some really beautiful sky now. Getting some pinks and blues up there, so this is pretty cool, given that the last couple days weren't very good for photography. I was definitely glad that I got up this morning. I guess that's the point I would make is, you know, some days you're gonna have bad days, some days you're gonna have great days, and this is one of those great days. So really happy that I got up, and glad you guys came along. If you liked this video, I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Feel free to ask any questions you may have in regards to landscape photography or just photography in general, and I'd be happy to help out any way I can. All right, so we're heading home, and past this turnout here on the Oregon coast for the Hesita lighthouse. And normally it wouldn't be something I would shoot at 1:30 in the afternoon. The photo's not going to come out great, but just the sky's too bright. But I wanted to just kind of get it set up so that I could see what it would look like in the future. So I got the 2-500 lens hooked up now, and we're at 500 millimeters, so zoomed all the way in, so get a pretty decent composition. So next time when the weather's better and I am better prepared for it, we'll come by and shoot this shot again. Just wanted to test it out and see if this lens would work, which it does.